So now that we know John Bolton is under fire and facing 18 counts of basically leaking or mishandling classified information, we're going to hear what's going on moving forward, what's going to happen to John, and if there's actually anything to this indictment at all. We believe innocent until proven guilty. Let's see what some of the experts have to say. We're not going to stay on one side. We're going to hear from both sides. So we'll hear from Fox and we'll also hear from CNN. So that way, maybe we can get more of a balanced idea of what's going on. Check this out.
Former National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted on charges of mishandling classified information. Bolton responding to the allegations, saying, quote, "I've become the latest target in weaponizing the Justice Department to charge those he," meaning Donald Trump, "deems to be his enemies. I look forward to the fight to defend my lawful conduct and to expose his abuse of power." Former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey joins me now. Jonathan, we got a couple things going on here. We have held documents and we have transmitted documents, meaning he took these allegedly inappropriately from the department or from where he was working, and then he disseminated it to people who shouldn't have it. Those include future attack intel, foreign intel sharing, adversaries' covert actions, sensitive human intel, and U.S. covert operations and assessments. How bad does this look for John Bolton?
This indictment looks far worse than I expected because there was all this talk that the indictment was coming yesterday, particularly, like you said, the transmission part of it, because this is he was transmitting classified documents on email to people that did not have clearances. I believe it was his wife and his daughter were the people receiving them over just a normal email. I think it was an AOL email. And the one thing that just shows how bad this was, his email got hacked by Iran, so we don't even know what Iran got or if anyone else got any of these things. So this is really bad. It shows how important it is to safeguard classified materials. And it's so ironic that John Bolton was out there front and center criticizing Donald Trump when the circumstances were so much different for Donald Trump, meaning so much worse for John Bolton, and he was doing this the whole time. And the other thing that I think is bad about it, the length of time that this was going on. It wasn't just like a one-off or something like that, or not that it would be excusable, but it would at least mitigate it. And then finally, this was all done to write a book. So he was old.
Yeah, and if you guys didn't know, we read earlier in the previous video, he started doing this in 2018, and he didn't stop. Or the allegations ended in August of this year, as recently as 8 weeks ago, which is crazy.
Ultimately going to profited from retaining classified information and also probably from sharing it, getting feedback on his book, presumably. So all of this looks really, really bad for him. And it seems hard for him to say this is political. It would almost seem political not to charge this if what's on the face of the indictment is even close to what the facts turn out to be.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what the defense is because you have a book that has the information. I mean, that is the worst damning piece of evidence against you, but we'll see how it all plays out in a court.
Wow. So he's writing a book and he put the classified information in his book. Guys, I don't know if there's much an argument here for our guy, John Bolton, but hey, innocent and proven guilty, I guess. I don't know.
Speaking of DOJ action, they brought their first terrorism charges against alleged members of Antifa for attacking that ICE facility in Texas back.
Okay, we're not talking about that. We're going to hear from CNN now. That way we can get a little bit more of a balanced look, and then we can weigh what different experts are saying and maybe come up to a better unbiased conclusion. All right, check this out from
Breaking
CNN.
news this morning, moments ago, Trump's former National Security Advisor John Bolton arrived at a federal courthouse in Maryland. He is facing charges of mishandling classified documents. Bolton, now a vocal Trump critic, says the charges are politically motivated. But there are some key differences between Bolton's case and those against two other Trump critics indicted by the DOJ recently. CNN's Caitlin Polance is outside court. Give us some sense of what you saw this morning as John Bolton made his way to turn himself in.
Well, Sarah, he didn't say anything, not much at all, but John Bolton is here now at the federal courthouse. His lawyers are here, prosecutors are here. We're just waiting to see when a judge would take the bench for Bolton to have his initial appearance in federal court facing this indictment. The indictment, it's 26 pages long. And it is lengthy because there's so much detail about what John Bolton is accused of. 18 counts of transmitting or possessing classified information, national defense information that he shouldn't have had in an unsecured way. after he was the national security advisor. Much of the detail in this indictment, Sarah, it is about what was happening in 2018 and 2019 when John Bolton was working in the Trump White House, taking notes of his day. He's a meticulous note taker. He's a very hard worker, someone who was here even at the courthouse almost before it opened this morning. And he's a person then who was recording his notes into Word documents, and then those Word documents he was sharing with, allegedly, 2 family members that he shouldn't have been sharing with on unsecured email accounts, and then also having them printed out and kept in his house, which he was not allowed to do after he was National Security Advisor as well. Some of the detail here is very likely to be read to him in court when he makes this initial appearance today, Sarah. He would potentially have the opportunity to plead not guilty at this time. He does say he wants to fight his charges. He's accused Donald Trump of weaponizing the Justice Department against him for a political outcome. But some of the detail here that he will be told, very likely by a judge, is that he's accused of telling these people in his family that he wanted his notes to be saved for, quote, a diary in the future. Sarah?
All right, Caitlin Polans there outside the court as John Bolton responds to charges. John?
All right, with us now, Tom Dupree, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, and Michael Moore, the former U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us. Presumably, you each had a chance to look through the indictment. Tom, let me just start with you. What jumps out to you? How serious is the situation for Ambassador Bolton?
It's a serious situation, and what jumped out at me when I reviewed that indictment was how starkly it differed from the indictments we saw of Jim Comey and Tish James. Those indictments were short, they were skeletal, they were haiku-like. This is long and thorough, 26 pages, very detailed allegations. It's what prosecutors call a speaking indictment that really tells a story and goes into great detail and puts on public display the evidence that the government has gathered, much of which I think was actually picked up when they executed the search warrant at John Bolton's house. But the government has already put a lot of cards on the table, and the allegations, and at this point they are just allegations, do tell a fairly disturbing story about how Bolton allegedly mishandled classified information.
And if you read the indictment, it seems to suggest he knew there was something in the way he was handling it, at least allegedly. There's this point, Michael, let me read to you in the indictment where it says, on or about July 23, 2018, Bolton sent individuals 1 and 2 a 24-page document, described information that Bolton learned while National Security Advisor. Less than 3 hours later, Bolton sent individuals 1 and 2 a follow-up message that stated, none of which we talked about, 3 exclamation points. In response, individual 1 sent a message that stated,
come on, man.
So how does that say?
Less than 3 hours later, Bolton sent individuals 1 and 2 a follow-up message that stated, none of which we talk about. In response, individual 1 sent the message and stated, shh. This is national security. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Crazy.
State of mind, Michael, maybe knowledge that this needed to be kept quiet. How could that impact the case?
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be with you. Look, this is a serious indictment, and it just tells us how seriously we need to take the handling of national security information. But the bottom line is this is really a case about him writing a book. And what he would do, is, by all appearances, is he would take some notes while he was in meeting in his own hand. Those notes may include information which was discussed, which shouldn't have been discussed outside the meeting. He would then send those to family members who were helping him compile his manuscript or his notes to be submitted to an editor. This is not a case where he had a little secret camera and he was taking pictures of the warplane plans and all this and sending them to China or something. That's not what this case is. But it's serious nonetheless because he knows enough, having had the roles that he's had in the U.S. government, he knows enough about how to handle classified and sensitive information, and he didn't do that here. So, you know, there's a little bit of a follow-up tale, and that is that he did go through a declassification program or process when he had put his book out. Yep. So the government had a chance to look into some information. So there may be some knowledge questions there. So it's not an open and shut case, but it does tell us that at least he knew, and he certainly signed acknowledgments when he got his security clearance, that he would know and protect this information from this type of dissemination for people who had not been given a security clearance. But there's more to the story, and it'll depend on whether or not Mr. Lowell, that is Mr. Bolton's lawyers, can convince either judges or a jury that the taking of notes for a diary is not a crime.
Abby Lowell, who has defended many high-profile clients over the last several years. And one defense he might use, Tom, is vindictive prosecution, trying to get this case thrown out altogether. Now, it's worth noting.
Now, vindictive prosecution, let's be real. And I said this in the chat to y'all. Did he do something wrong or not? I mean, did he transmit national defense information 8 different times? Did he retain national defense information improperly 10 different times? I mean, what are we going to do? So if somebody says something bad about you, you find out they did something wrong and you prosecute them. That's wrongful prosecution? I mean, If the claims are baseless, then maybe. But I don't know, 8 counts and 10 counts. Again, John Bolton's innocent until proven guilty. Let me know what y'all think.
These charges brought by career prosecutors, not the hasty, rushed prosecutions we've seen in the cases of Comey and Letitia James. But how much ammunition has President Trump himself given this argument from Abbe Lowell just with his statements over the last several years and recently about John Bolton?
None.
Sure. Well, look, these vindictive prosecution claims are notoriously difficult to win if you're a defense lawyer.
They're
but I
BS.
will say that President Trump, by specifically directing the prosecution of certain people, at least gives them some ammunition to make that argument. I think in this case, though, it would be particularly difficult for Bolton to win and to knock out this indictment based on vindictive prosecution for the reason you mentioned. This indictment, again, unlike the James and the Comey indictments, was signed by a team of 6 prosecutors. Many of these are career prosecutors, which really does go a long way toward erasing any taint that might arise from Trump specifically directing this prosecution or ordering this to be pursued. The fact that this was signed off on by career prosecutors who reviewed the evidence and said in their professional judgment this was sufficient to warrant charges will go a long way toward defeating any defense of vindictive prosecution.
Yeah, and I agree with that 1000%. If there's something there, we'll see it and it'll play out in court. If there's nothing there, then we say, okay, well, we find you not guilty. But I mean, 18 different counts, and this man was writing a book with allegedly with the classified information in there. Seems pretty straightforward to me. I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Is it not looking good for John Bolton, or do we just need to wait, see what happens? Let me know what y'all think.